Andrew Carnegie was a poor Scottish immigrant who didn't have two nickels to rub together when he arrived in America. Yet, he built an astonishing amount of wealth in one lifetime. Modern estimates say as much as $300 billion. And how did he earn that much wealth? It's because he did one thing. What's the secret? Well, actually, you've already heard it. That's the secret. He did only one thing. Andrew Carnegie once said, "Put all your eggs in one basket and then watch that basket." He meant the shortest path to wealth is a straight line. And that's what modern side hustle culture seems to miss. For many people, you'll be more effective putting in extra time at your main hustle than adding a side hustle. Why? Because if you work on a business for only an hour a day, it might not be enough to move the needle. But if you work on your main business or job with gusto, you're supplementing a full-time gig. Rather than working 1 hour on a side hustle, you're working 8 hours plus 1 hour every day on your main career. You may be thinking, sure, but I should diversify my income sources, right? If I rely on just one job for my income, I take on more risk. True. And if you need to spread out your risk or pick up some extra money to accomplish something constructive like pay off debt, it can be a great idea. But if you want to achieve the astounding wealth that comes with compounding returns, you might consider following the example of Carnegie. In 1849, when Carnegie was just 14 years old, he took a job as a messenger in a telegraph office. He wasn't earning a lot, about $2.50 per week. He was also supporting his family at the time, so he had every reason to take on side hustles. Yet he didn't. He put his efforts into reinvesting in himself. As a telegraph messenger, his job was to get new communications to busy professionals as fast as possible. So he invested his time in his main hustle. He learned the complicated street map of 19th century Pittsburgh until he'd committed it to memory. Now, he could go deliver messages faster than other delivery boys because he didn't have to pause and check maps. Carnegie also memorized as many faces as he could. This way, he didn't always have to ask around for Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so. He knew them on sight. This may remind you of the 2006 film The Pursuit of Happiness. In that film, Chris Gardner explains how, despite being broke at the time, he was forced to find shortcuts that made him more effective than the other job applicants. Carnegie's extra labor on his main hustle made him stand out. It earned him promotions until he made good contacts. Eventually, when his prospects as a messenger boy evaporated, he took a job in the railroad industry with one of the contacts he made. Despite his humble beginnings, he was well on the path to wealth. The railroad industry at the time was booming, and Carnegie took a similar position in telegraph communications. But he was working more directly for a boss, and there were many more opportunities for advancement. He took the same approach in the railroad industry, putting all of his eggs into one basket, his job. He eventually became indispensable to his boss. Eventually, that boss helped him start with his first investments, and Carnegie's career as a future tycoon was officially underway. It was this process of continual reinvestment, both time and money, that made Carnegie his millions. Yes, there are a few circumstances where a side hustle makes sense. Take on an extra job to pay off debt. Slowly build up a business to escape the 9-to-5. But if you have a potential wealth-building formula right in front of you, you might consider making overtime your side hustle. It's the people who put in the extra work like Carnegie that ultimately become successful.